your efforts to make age 50 to 75 the best years of your life, one of my suggestions is to reinvent your network. Add people into your world. There was a famous speaker back in the 1990s. His name was Charlie Tremendous Jones. And he said that after we finished our formal education, whether that's high school or college or an advanced degree, the only way we learn and grow was through the people we meet and the books we read. But now, if you fast forward 30 years later, people aren't reading a lot of books. In fact, people are reading less books than ever. And we have turned to things like podcast, watching YouTube videos, taking courses, etc. So I think now that idea of the books and the learning isn't as important, because with AI, we all have access to everything. With Google, we have access to everything. So we no longer reading a bunch of books is going to give us an advantage over people when it comes to knowledge, because people can just sit on their phones and look up whatever they want and find all the knowledge. So it's a little different than in Charlie Jones's day. So today I tell people the only way you're going to change and grow is through the people who you meet and build long-term and mutually beneficial relationships with. But we're at a weird time in society. Number one, people are more introverted. They're pulled back a little bit more. After the pandemic, people they don't want to go out and deal with people. Second thing is we want to surround ourselves with people who are just like us. In fact, this idea of living in a bubble has become really popular with people. Nobody wants to associate with people with different political views or different backgrounds. People just want to be around people like them. And in fact, we see this throughout society, that people are starting to jettison friends who vote for different people or have different ideas about the world and the future. I don't think that's how we learn and grow. I think one of the ways we learn and grow is we have to be curious about people. We have to ask questions. We have to learn. We have to realize that most people out there, they're good people. They just have different views than we do. And if we can understand how they came to those views, we can look inside ourselves and see why we believe the things we believe. And that's how we grow. Over the course of my life, I've changed my opinions on many things because I've actually met people who've had different experiences in life. And when you're exposed to people, things that seem different or scary or weird suddenly become much more normal, and you start to understand where others are coming from. So I think one of the best things you can do if you want to just put a spark into your life and make age 50 to 75 the best years of your life is you have to think about networking 2.0. What is it that you can do that will add new people into your life? Now, let's face it, it takes time to build long-term and mutually beneficial relationships. And here's the other thing. Not everyone's going to like you, and it's okay. And you're not going to like everyone you meet. But if you just shut yourself off from the world and keep the small little group that you've always had, you're not being exposed to new thoughts, new ideas, people from different cultures, people from different backgrounds, people with different religious beliefs, people with different sexual orientations. You want to have diversity in your life. Every study that's out there shows that individuals and corporations and organizations thrive more if they're surrounded by diversity. But diversity isn't just race or men and women. Diversity comes in a lot of ways. It actually comes to different experiences that you've had, different thought patterns of how you make decisions. There are so many things that make up what diversity is when you're surrounding yourself with people, that if you just want to stand with people who are just like you, you're not going to be able to thrive moving forward. Because let's face it, the world is changing. We need to be exposed to what these changes are in technology, in social, economic structures. So you want to keep adding your people to your world. But people tell me, they go, Thom, it's harder to make friends the older that we get. Because when you're younger, you're in school, you're in class, you have recess, or you're changing classes in high school, or in college, you live in the dorms and all the freshmen live together, or you get out of college and all the young professionals are put together and you're joining young professionals groups, and then you get married and all the newlyweds hang out together, and then you have kids and everybody with kids the same age hangs out together. But suddenly you're in your 50s, your kids have moved on, and it's much harder to make new friends because we're not putting ourselves into brand new social situations like we have through other areas of our lives. So my challenge to you in this area of networking 2.0 is think about, where can I get around more people and how can I take an interest in those people? If you show up with an elevator pitch and just flip that switch in your back and tell everybody about you, no one's going to want to hang out with you. But if you show up, you're there to serve the community that you're participating in, and you ask a lot of questions of people. And then you'll have your chance to tell your stories. And then you'll find some of those people who you have a connection with. And when you have that connection, then you need to follow up. Hey, it was great to meet you. Let's go grab some lunch, or invite them over to your house, maybe with their spouse for a dinner party. Be thinking about, how can I get around a lot of new people, and be open to the idea that some of those people could become friends of yours if you'll take the time to invest in them. As you look to getting through this next phase of life, networking 2.0 is really important. I'm always looking for new people. I find people fascinating. And if you find people annoying, get over it. Start asking questions. Find out people's origin stories. How did they get to where they are today? The more questions you ask of them, the more they're going to open up and tell you about them. And then maybe you'll find those little connections where you're like, hey, we have that in common. So think about that as you're getting older. Networking 2.0 is the key to being able to have a much more fulfilled life as we get older.